What happens when a key route for aid and escape becomes a strategic battleground? Welcome to the conflict between Israel and Hamas at the Rafah border crossing. On a day filled with high-stakes diplomatic moves and military brinkmanship, an Israeli tank brigade seized control of the Gaza Strip side of the Rafah Crossing with Egypt. This offensive came despite ceasefire negotiations with Hamas, teetering on the edge of collapse. Earlier, the militant group Hamas expressed its acceptance of an Egyptian-Qatari-mediated ceasefire proposal. However, Israel insisted that the deal did not meet its core demands, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the possibility of an accord. This war, which has been raging for 7 months, has wreaked havoc on the Gaza Strip, leaving the region and its inhabitants in a state of devastation. The Israeli 401st Brigade claimed operational control of the Rafah Crossing, a lifeline for many, early on Tuesday morning. This crossing is a crucial gateway for aid entering the besieged enclave, and an exit for those fortunate enough to flee into Egypt. Since the war began, Israel has maintained full control over all access in and out of Gaza. The Israeli military justified the seizure of the crossing on the grounds of intelligence, indicating its use for terrorist purposes. They alleged that the area around the crossing had been used to launch a mortar attack that resulted in the death of 4 Israeli troops and injured others near the Kerem Shalom crossing. As a result, the Rafah Crossing, a lifeline for many, is now under the operational control of the Israeli military. The seizure of the Rafah Crossing was not without reason, or so claims the Israeli military. The Israeli forces assert that their decision to take control of this crucial crossing was based on intelligence pointing towards its use for terrorist activities. This was not a random act of aggression, but a calculated response, they argue. According to them, the area surrounding the crossing had been used to launch a mortar attack that resulted in the death of 4 Israeli troops, leaving others wounded. This incident occurred near the Kerem Shalom crossing, another key point of access. The Israeli military maintains that these attacks left them with no choice but to seize control of the Rafah crossing to prevent further assaults and protect their personnel. In addition to the seizure, the Israeli military also launched airstrikes and deployed ground troops targeting suspected Hamas positions in Rafah. This show of force was meant to dismantle the alleged terrorist operations being carried out in the area. By taking control of the crossing and conducting these operations, the Israeli forces aimed to cut off what they perceived as a significant threat to their national security. However, it's important to note that these claims by the Israeli military have not been substantiated independently. The evidence to support these allegations has not been made publicly available, leaving room for doubt and speculation. Moreover, the Palestinian Crossings Authority has acknowledged the seizure, but not the reasons cited by Israel for this action. As we delve deeper into this conflict, we find ourselves navigating a sea of claims and counterclaims. This situation is no exception. The veracity of these claims remains a point of contention, further complicating an already complex situation. The seizure of the Rafah crossing has far-reaching implications, both on a humanitarian and political level. This crucial gateway, once a lifeline for aid into the besieged enclave and an escape route for those able to flee into Egypt, is now under the operational control of the Israeli military. The closure of the facility has dire consequences. On a humanitarian level, the seizure threatens to exacerbate an already critical situation. With the crossing closed, the flow of much-needed aid into the Gaza Strip is effectively cut off. This, coupled with the ongoing war, has the potential to plunge the region into an even deeper humanitarian crisis. On a political level, the seizure of the Rafah crossing could potentially threaten the peace deal that has been in place since 1979. This agreement between Egypt and Israel has been a linchpin for regional security. Now, with Palestinians potentially fleeing over the border, the stability of this peace deal is at risk. The United States has expressed strong opposition to an all-out Israeli assault on Rafah. Such an assault could be disastrous for the estimated 1.4 million Palestinians seeking refuge there. However, with Israeli leaders vowing to continue their campaign until Hamas is destroyed, the prospect of such an assault cannot be ruled out. These are indeed complex and challenging times. The seizure of the Rafah Crossing has not only shifted the dynamics of the Israel-Hamas war, but also has the potential to reshape the region's political landscape. The stakes are high, and the world watches with bated breath as the fate of 1.4 million Palestinians hangs in the balance. In the midst of this turmoil, ceasefire negotiations continue. The proposal on the table revolves around a ceasefire implemented in multiple stages. This would begin with a limited hostage release, followed by partial Israeli troop pullbacks within Gaza. The objective is to gradually negotiate a permanent calm that would eventually lead to a full hostage release and a more extensive Israeli withdrawal. Hamas, however, yearns for more concrete guarantees. Their key demand is an end to the war and a complete Israeli withdrawal in return for the release of all hostages, a proposition that seems reasonable on the surface, yet is met with stern opposition. Israeli leaders remain resolute, rejecting such a trade-off. They've taken a vow to persist with their campaign until Hamas is destroyed, a declaration triggered by the October 7th attack on Israel. As the ceasefire negotiations continue, the future of the Rafah Crossing and the lives of countless Palestinians remain uncertain.